Hey Anya, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
How's the body feeling at the moment?
Good. Well, back to running, you know,
Awesome.
sweet and short, but back to running park runs, which you know, they okay, they lost the regular volunteer, but it's nice to be it's nice to be running, uh, and I'll be running my first my first race, a 10K tomorrow uh, after a year of not running any races whatsoever.
That
So,
is
so
so
that's
awesome to
nice.
hear. So I normally have a structure when I go about doing these things, but
Mm,
there's some things that I really want from your experience for people to hear. So I'm going to throw those at you a bit more.
mm.
But to start with, give people a background to the kind of athlete that you were before OP and what you were doing with your body when you're running.
So, just to clarify, I, it's difficult to say before OP because I've had trouble. So it's started running longer distances, marathons, about 4 years ago, and that's where sort of all sorts of niggles started. Uh, and I was diagnosed with OP formally last October, but retrospectively, I'm guessing that I had sort of serious problems for about 18 months prior to that. So all of that really long distance running that I did, it would have probably been with OP, but the kind of running I did, it was ultra marathons. So 4 years ago, I started running marathons, and then I found out that there's people going, longer than that. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Uh, and uh, yeah, I did my first first 50K. What? Uh, yeah, 3 years ago, and I was very encouraged, by the atmosphere and sort of discovering the fact that I could go on for what felt like forever. So, did a 50K and did a 50 miler. Uh, the longest that I have gone in sort of one go uh, was 100 kilometers, a little over 10 hours. But then I also did events like multi-day events.
Hmm.
So something right before I had to stop running uh, for almost a year. So last August, around that time, around this time last August, I did 4 marathons in 4 days. Uh, so, so so it was also events like that, doing a double marathon or doing 50K followed by a marathon, uh, that sort of thing. But at the same time, I was, retrospectively, I think I had OP or something past 18 months or so.
Mm. Still, those are some pretty incredible distances. So one of I think of all the clients I've had, and like you were very good with like getting your videos in, like very good with like doing all your rehab and getting your videos in. And it was really interesting because you didn't have necessarily have that big a history with like lifting heavy weights, right? Like, you were a long distance runner, you were an ultra marathon runner. Um, I'm curious, what did it feel like to first start lifting weights, and how do you feel your body responded to that in regards to the OP?
Mm. I mean, first thing I remember, it was, so you told me, okay, go and find a hex bar. And I'm like, what's a hex bar? Started Googling around, found, okay, so this is what it looks like. Uh, it also meant venturing out to the part of the gym I'd never been to, in my sort of 3 years or whatever belonging there, because it's always been the bit that felt a bit scary, full of blokes mostly lifting heavy stuff. So yeah. went over there, scouted the floor in search of said hex bar. Okay, found it, and then it was like, it's heavy. So even getting the hex bar, to the place where I wanted it to, in the beginning, that was a bit of a struggle, and then, but it felt like, okay, I was learning something new, and I do like learning new things. And then I also discovered fairly quickly, sort of 3 or 4 weeks in, as I was lifting heavier and heavier weights, that this was actually the thing that there was a direct connection between doing that and alleviating my symptoms. So it was the first time that I had something that worked, because up until then, with all the other rehab stuff I was doing with other people, it felt so hit and miss. I was told, okay, go and do one-legged squats, or do this stretch or do that stretch, and there was never any connection between me doing that and getting better. But at least with the deadlifts, I could literally feel almost like my pelvis resetting itself, and things realigning themselves. So, and I kept showing up regularly in that scary bit of the gym, and yeah, people were okay with me being there. It did take a bit of, trying to ignore the fact that usually I'd be like the only woman there. Not that anybody cares, but I guess
it's still hard. It's hard to go
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone. So, and correct me if I get the order of these things wrong. I probably will. But so I remember that you were doing really well, right? You were like lifting up, and then the first hurdle we hit was you started to get like you were feeling better, and then you started to get like that pubic bone pain, like when you were sitting and stuff, and it kind of like it started burning on you, and it was just irritating you all the time, and it was like we were getting this nice linear like improvement. Then we got this like roadblock that kind of hit us. Talk to people and just like, because I always want people to understand this before they start the process, that it's just not easy. Like not easy as in it's up and down all the way. What let you get through that, like, and what was your headspace, and what allowed you to kind of like push through? Because as we learned more exercises, you were able to like learn the things to fix that. What kind of let you get you there, and how were you able to get through that kind of thing?
I mean, I think the main thing that helped me, it was, I think, sort of 3 or 4 weeks in after we started working together, I had my first sort of, it was maybe, I don't know, a good couple of hours in the evening when I felt pain-free. So I had this, really blissful evening of, being able to do yoga, because that was the evening when I would normally do a yoga class, of being able to do that pain-free. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt that good in literally years. So it was almost like a memory that I had, stocked in the bank of, good experiences, good memories. And when the weather peaks and troughs, I had something to go back to. So to cast my mind back to. So that was something that gave me hope, because if I could, okay, at that point it was only a couple of hours of relief, whatever. But if doing the rehab meant I could get there, then I had something to hold on to, and I also. And then through working together, I had a bunch of other experiences of, sort of getting better, and then hitting another another roadblock, like, you know,
The side of the hip is the one I
trashing,
remember.
yeah, or trashing, trashing my quad whilst doing uphill sprints
Sprints, yeah.
and getting back into that. But then again and again, I had the experience of being able to do something that directly helped. So to sort of work with the body. And then I think the other thing that helped was, uh, and it's still not easy, but it's almost this balancing between having the long-term goal, uh, and my long-term goal, has been, and it still is right now, to be able to run a half marathon without pain. So, and when I started, that I could just as well be planning to go to the moon, because at my worst, I was at a point where I couldn't care less about running. So, running was the least of my problems, because my everyday life was affected. My ability to do my job was affected. I couldn't, sit longer for 15 minutes. Uh, I struggled with, basic stuff like, doing domestic chores and whatever, because I was in that much pain. Uh, so that long-term goal, it felt like going to the moon and back. But so it's about balancing that long-term goal with, I think, trusting the process, and almost detaching from the goal, and I guess accepting it will take as long as it takes, because I was getting frustrated with myself a lot about, you know, it's taking so long, but then the other thing that helped me was remembering, well, it took a lot of work to get to that really severe stage of OP. It will probably take a lot of work to, get out of it, to reverse it.
The thing, and you said a lot there, but the thing that I was always really impressed with was, I think you had this great ability to go, okay, cool, to be really logical and detached from the process of how someone goes about getting better. It's like one of the first things I go, think like a mechanic, don't think like a doctor. Like there's no magic wand, you've got to go in and fix the machine kind of thing. And I think you were always really good at going, okay, cool, I had a night of not feeling any pain. Oh, I do a deadlift and I feel my pelvis being stronger. And so your brain, you always seem to be able to go, okay, cool. So therefore I do this, this happens. And so he was like, oh, I have control of this now. And then you were like, so rather than being like, I'm really anxious, I'm really worried. And then when the pain coming back, kind of like, being really like insecure, worried and wanting to throw the towel in, you just went the other way and you were like, well, I do something, I get a positive result. I'm obviously not doing something well, and I'm not getting the results I want. And so you were just like, oh, well, no, then I'm going to send Jason another video, or I'm going to like become more obsessed about adding this technique, right? You went, oh, when I do something good, I get the outcome I want. I'm just not doing something good. I just need to figure out what I'm doing wrong and get it right. And so from my perspective, it was always like, oh, like you were a very difficult case in that you had so much going on with your body and so many other concurrent things working at the same time. But it was very easy from the perspective that I never had to talk you into it. It was always like, oh, okay, cool, try this. Yeah, cool, we fixed that. It's still not fixed the problem. Try this now. Try this now. And there was never like, oh, okay, I'm ready to give up. There was always like, okay, cool, I'll do that now. Okay, cool, I'll do that now. And it was like every single time you just got stronger and stronger and figured out more and more and just pushed harder and harder. And eventually, even though it was such a difficult case, you just figured out what was wrong and you just kept ironing out all the problems. And it was funny because it was like, it got to a point at the end where it was like, oh, your OP really isn't bothering you that much. Now it's dealing with the side of your hip that's giving you problems, or the quad that's really thing, all these other like extra peripheral issues that you were kind of winding back through your previous injury history almost, and just going, oh, and then you just took the same mentality. It's like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. Let me fix that. And so it took this really difficult case and it just made it so logical, and you just seemed to be able to detach, even though you were going through it and it was so emotional and horrible to experience, you seemed to be able to detach the process of getting better from the emotions you were experiencing, and you were really clinical about just going, I need to do this, and then you just did it, and you just, yeah, you just kept pushing forward to it, which I was always just like, that's incredible, because from a pain perspective, like the kind of pain you were experiencing, and especially the like, and I guess for some people who have OP, you may not appreciate this. Like, there's such a variety of pain that people experience. So someone like Anya is experiencing pain a lot of the time, constant sometimes, and just gnawing. While some people will only get it when they're running, kind of thing. When it's gnawing at you constantly, you just want to tear your hair out because there's no escaping it. It's like someone's putting really loud music on and you can't block your ears and you can't get it out of your head, kind of thing. And so it's always incredible to see someone be like, all right, I'm at my wit's end emotionally right now because pain is wearing me down, yet still be able to step away from that and going, well, that's great, but complaining is not going to get me anywhere, so I'm just going to suck this up. And, at least if I can get 2 minutes of like pain free, if I feel better whilst I'm doing that exercise, that's something. And I'd rather have something than wallowing in this hopelessness. And you always seem to be able to just grab onto that. And then just over time, you just got stronger and stronger and moved further in that direction. I always thought that was just incredible.
It was, you know, and I was literally at my wit's end because, you know, I've sort of gone through loads, loads and loads of sort of physiotherapy prior, and had been seeing a couple of different doctors, etc. And what they left me with is pretty much okay. Here's a bunch of prescription strength painkillers, all the good stuff, codeine and whatever. That and even that wasn't taking the edge off. I was zombied out on prescription strength painkillers, and I was still in pain. But basically, their verdict was, well, you've got a chronic pain condition, have a happy rest of your life, but we can give you some more pills if you want. And I was like, no, that can't be it. That can't be it. Uh, so, so to have something that, and initially, the way I approached rehab with you, it was like, okay, it may not work, but at least it shouldn't make things worse. Yes. because they are already, as bad as they can be. And yeah, at least he has something I can try.
What was I going to say? I'm a little annoyed at myself that I don't have that video of when your wife sent me that message. I don't have it on cue. But I will ask you: is she happy now that you're running, and you're now happier?
She is, and I guess that's something, through the whole process, that's also been really important. Her support, and for anybody else trying to complete the rehab program, I'd say, get as much support, whichever form that takes as you can. But, for me, having support from my wife, that was really important. Starting from silly practical things like, getting her help to video me, or getting her to be happy with the fact that the house was, filling up with what she called my fitness crap. So all sorts of props and but she's, because I know that, my injury and the fact that I've been in pain for so long and feeling pretty hopeless, that's affected her tremendously. me being in pain all the time also meant that, well, doing things together, going out or whatever, you know, going out for a meal was really not an option because, it would mean being in a car, uh, driving somewhere, so, sitting down and then trying to sit down through a meal, well, not going to happen. So, going to the cinema, well, not really going to happen. Because if you can't sit down for longer than 15, 20 minutes, well,
What's the
yeah,
point?
try that. Uh, People in the cinema, I don't think would appreciate it very well, somebody trying to walk up and down. But so having her support, through that process, uh, and having somebody that knew what I was trying to do, that was really important. And I appreciate not everybody will be lucky to have a supportive partner or whatever, but even people will be willing to help, and uh, something that I've also found helpful, even though difficult to ask for that help. People at the gym. Sometimes with some things. Asking people to film me. I did have a tripod and whatnot, but with some things, it was so much easier when there were people to help. So,
It's funny.
so they,
It's an untold thing, right? In that, like, your personality and your relationships take such an effect when you're in constant pain. Like, it's just something you don't really appreciate too much. All right, this has been awesome. The last question that I always ask people,
mm,
and I'll let you take this word in whatever direction you want. But if someone was in your situation, and I'm like really cast your mind back, that kind of constant pain, that niggling pain kind of thing, because it's unique and it's different to what a lot of other OP people are experiencing.
mm,
But if someone is in that situation where they're just getting this constant pain and they're thinking about doing this, like, this program, they're thinking about trying to get on top of it kind of thing, but they're unsure and stuff, like, what would you want to tell that kind of person who went through your kind of experience specifically?
so I trust the process. I mean, don't expect immediate results. I mean, I still remember sort of, I think 3 weeks in, yeah, sort of 3 weeks in or something of us working together, you know, having well, in private, having a bit of a major meltdown about, still feeling just, yeah, completely overwhelmed and besieged with all sorts of symptoms. And uh, it, it did help to, have a bit of a meltdown and get it out of my system. But then uh, what I made sure I did was that, I kept coming back to the exercises. I made sure that this was well, usually it was the first thing in the morning that I did. And, I kept at it. So it was about trusting the process, about uh, building in, those banking those moments of hope, those moments when I felt better, and uh, those moments that I could come back to if things were feeling really rough. I think especially for people with uh, the more severe cases, I think education, educate having access to that education, the videos that you put together, etc. That was brilliant. Uh, but I'd also say, retrospectively, in terms of advice, so sticking to stuff uh, that is science based, evidence based. what wasn't helpful to what wasn't that helpful to me, and I did a lot of that initially, was uh, googling around, trying to find out about what osteitis pubis was, because when I first got the diagnosis, it was like, what? I'd never heard of it. Uh, it wasn't that helpful, reading stories of people uh, who had chronic pain, going on for 3, 4, 5 years or whatever, and being stuck in that chronic pain. So I'd say be selective about what you read on the internet, and yeah, and try and stick uh, with the stuff that's more constructive. But above all, just stick with it. Uh, Put in the work, and it all adds up. And hopefully will lead to a positive result.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Anya, thank you so much for doing this. And anyone watching this, hopefully, yeah, you can take a lot from it, because you did not have a you did not have a fun time with this condition. Not that anyone ever does, but it was one of the rougher things, and you really did get through it incredibly. So yeah, anyone watching this, yeah, hopefully you can take a lot away from it. But yeah, thanks guys, and thanks Anya so much.